Okay, boys and girls, I wanted to practice some adding of fractions today with unlike denominators. So I'm going to put a couple problems out here. Here's the first one. We're going to do adding 3/4 to 1/16. Okay, now if we're going to add this up, the first thing we need to do is we need to find a common denominator. We need to make these fractions equivalent to something that has the same denominator. So in order to do that, there's a few ways to do it. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take both these fractions and we're going to look at their multiples. So if I take 4 times 1 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, 4 times 3 is 12, 4 times 4 is 16, and I could keep going. Now I'm going to do the same thing with 16. 16 times 1 is 16. Well, I can stop right there because we just found a set of multiples that are the same. So this is going to be our common denominator. We found the least common multiple, and that's going to be our common denominator. So now that we have that set, we can go ahead and make these fractions equivalent, and we can add them up. So in order to find the equivalent fraction for 1/16, first of all, we have to look and see what we multiplied 16 by to get 16. Well, 16 times 1 equals 16. So what we do to the denominator, we have to do to the numerator. What we do to the bottom, we have to do to the top. So 1 times 1 equals 1. Okay, now we're going to do the same process with the top fraction here. We have to look at 4 and 16 to see what we multiplied it by. 4 times 4 equals 16. So therefore, we have to do the same thing to the numerator on the top, and it's going to be 3 times 4 equals 12. So now that we have found equivalent fractions that have the same denominator, we can go ahead and add these up quite simply. The denominators are the same. They're both 16. So all we need to do now is add the numerators. 12 plus 1 equals 13, and the denominator stays the same, 16ths. 13 16ths. Now, this is in simplest form because 13 is a prime number. And that means that the only way you can get 13 is multiplying 1 times 13. There's no other way there are no other factors you can multiply together to get 13 as a product. So 13 16ths is the answer to that one. Okay, let me do another one with you. Let me wipe this board clean. And so let me do another problem with you. We're going to go ahead and do 2/3 plus 2/6. Okay, actually let's make that 2/7. I'll make this a little bit tougher. 2/3 plus 2/7. Okay, now again, we need to find a common denominator, but to do that we need to look at the different multiples of 3 and 7. So what we're going to do, first of all, 3 times 1 is 3, 3 times 2 is 6, 3 times 3 is 9, 3 times 4 is 12, 3 times 5 is 15, 3 times 6 is 18, 3 times 7 is 21, and we could keep going. Now let's do the same thing with 7. 7 times 1 is 7, 7 times 2 is 14, 7 times 3 is 21. I'm going to stop right there. The reason why I'm stopping right there is because I found a common multiple. They both have 21 in common, both the 3 and the 7. So what we're going to do then, since they have a common multiple, is that is going to be our common denominator. Now you might look at this and go, oh, I could just take 7 and multiply it by 3 and get 21. And that's very true. You could do that. It's just that sometimes if you multiply your denominators together to get a common denominator, it might not be the least common denominator. So you might end up having to reduce the fraction at the end. So instead of doing that, let's just we can do it this way, where we list all of the where we list all of the multiples out, or you could do this where you look at a multiplication table and you look at the 3 and you look at the 7 and you just slide across. You start here, you say, okay, 7, is there a 7 in the 3's column? No. Is there a 14? Nope, it goes 12 to 15, so it skips 14. Is there a 21? You keep going. Yes, there's a 21. So you can use this chart to really help you find whether or not there's a common, what the least common multiple is. And that's what we're going to do here. So 21 will be our common denominator. Now we just have to, and by the way, I want you guys writing this down. So if you need to pause this, write down what I've written down on the board, and then hit play again. Okay? But 7 times what number equals 21? Well, we know it's 3. So we want to make this an equivalent fraction, and the way we do that is we just multiply the top by the same thing. 2 times 3 equals 6. Okay, so write that down. Again, pause it if you need to so you can get it written down neatly. Don't write down sloppy either. You've got to write neatly so that it makes sense to you. Okay, we're going to do the same thing with the top number. We're going to say 3 times what number equals 21? Well, it's times 7. 3 times 7 is butterfly 21. So we're going to do the same thing to the top number. Multiply it by 7, and we'll get 14. Okay, so now that our denominators are common, we can go ahead and just add the numerators. 14 plus 6 equals 20, and the denominator stays the same, 21. Okay, so 20 21sts, and that is in simplest form. We cannot reduce it any further, so we're finished with that one. All right, let's do one more together, and then I'm going to let you guys stop. So here's the last one. Let's do, I'll give you let's do, how about 1/2 plus 3/16. Now again, please write this down. I want you doing these with me. Okay? And I changed my mind. Don't make that 3/16. Let's make it a little bit easier. Let's make it 3/8. 1/2 plus 3/8. Okay? And if you need to, go ahead and use the multiplication chart, and we'll be looking for the denominators of 2 and 8. So go on over to your multiplication chart. Let me clear mine off. Oh no. Okay, I can't change mine for some reason. So 2 and 8 are what we're going to be looking at. So let's start sliding across. We've got an 8. Is there an 8 in the 2's column? Well, yes, there is. So 8 is our first common multiple. We're going to stick with that, and we're going to make that our common denominator. We'll change the colors here. Okay, so now we need to make these fractions equivalent. What do we have to multiply 8 by to get 8? Well, by 1. So 3 times 1 equals 3. Copy that down. Next one, 2 times 4 is 8. So therefore, 1 times 4 equals 4. Now that our denominators are the same, we go ahead and add up 4 plus 3, and we get 7. 7/8 is our problem, or it's our answer. So there you go. Good luck. Have fun.